Hello, everyone. What an amazing day. Welcome to the Visibility on Purpose community. If you are new here, welcome to our community workshops. I'm having fun with StreamYard figuring out how I want this to look for today's training. So welcome. So grateful to have you here. I'm Bridget. I'll introduce myself in a moment. I'm going to make sure that we are live in the group. Okay, cool. And if you're here with me, let me know. So write a comment in the comments tab. You can say your name, you can say where you are in the world, say hello. And I definitely want to hear what is your business. So just like when you joined the community, we probably asked you, hey, like, what do you do for work? What's your business? Just add it to the comments tab. That way we can give you some relatable examples as we go through today's training. So today is all about how to create a brand that turns heads and generates income. And I had a lot of fun actually preparing for this today because I sat with what are some of my favorite brands and what are they doing really, really well, right? Why am I paying them money like time and time again? Why do I feel like I'm part of their community? Like, what is it about what they're doing and how they're showing up in the world as a brand and, of course, a business? How are they doing that? What are they doing? And how can we learn how to do this for ourselves? So welcome to our community here. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Okay, now we're going to, how fun is this? All right, welcome. So excited. So let's jump on into it. Number one, how's everyone doing today? I just got this wild orange doTERRA oil. And anytime I have like orange or citrus oils, it just feels like such a win. Such a win. Okay, let's jump in. If you're new to this community, I shared this last week when I did another training in here, but Visibility on Purpose, this is what we do. This is what we are. I have a business partner, that's Lydia in the picture there. This is a media training school for business owners who want to expand their reach. They want to get new eyes on their business. They want to generate more money, and they want to do this through a different revenue stream or marketing strategy, right? A lot of you who are here have probably been using social media in some way, shape, or form to grow a business over the last couple of years. I know that was the biggest strategy for me when I got started. I left my job at Yelp in New York City in 2016. I became a yoga teacher. I became a holistic health coach. I then started working with business owners. I ran programs. I ran a publishing company. I did that all with social media. Right? So you are here because you probably use social media and you are now looking for some new ways to get your business out there in the world beyond just the posting strategy. We know we need to have a presence, but we're like, I'm kind of tired of this. So specifically here, we talk about PR, media exposure, and different strategies to get yourself in front of a new audience. And all of this is without paying for a publicist or being a celebrity. Our whole thing here is like, you get to be you and shine as much as possible. What a blessing. Now, Lydia and I come from different backgrounds, but we're actually both from New Jersey. We both went to Rutgers University. She has a background in being a publicist. She's worked for some of the top name music brands over the years, a decade of experience. And I have a background in publishing, speaking, and really helping people get their message across to the world. So we put our hearts, our minds together. We created this community. That's why you're here. And hey, everyone. Hey, Megan. Oh my gosh. So fun. Megan has a vacation rental company, financial education, couples retreats. So excited for everything that you and Andrew are doing. All right. So let's go in. I love to have an agenda. I'm very organized. If you heard me last week, I have a Capricorn rising. So I like organization. So right now, I want to first start with number one, why does this matter, right? Why are we here? Why are we doing this? What does it look like? So if you're here today, why do you desire to create a brand that turns heads? Why do you desire to get your business in front of more people? What is the driver for you? It's probably, monetarily driven, of course. We're not here to just have hobbies. It's probably also impact driven. A lot of you, if you're in this group, you have something of value that you're here to share with the world, and you would like more and more people to know about it, right? So what are some of your desires? We're also going to go over why creating a brand matters. I'm going to talk about it from a little bit of a different perspective, one that makes a lot of sense to me, and I think it'll resonate with you. Then we're going to go over how to actually offer something that people want, which is really important, right? To generate income and make more sales. And we're going to talk about being an active participant in your brand's growth. And then, of course, like have some fun, make some jokes, And yeah, leave some comments as you are here. All right. Oh, and last but not least, we have a workshop coming up on June 27th, 4 p.m. Eastern. It's called Your Visibility Era. It's all about, number one, we have the strong social presence, but we have some of these fears when we think about speaking on podcasts, media coverage, stages. We're like, who's going to listen? So I'm planting this here now. I'll probably mention it again at the end, but we do have a workshop at the end of the month that's going to be on Zoom. So if you want to take some of this a step further, you're welcome to join us there. Okay. So how do we create a brand that turns heads? How do we do this? I looked at some companies and brands that I personally use, and I was asking myself, what are these companies doing really, really well? All of these companies have impact. They're converting, right? Meaning that they're not only showing up in the world, so they have the brand awareness, but they're also then converting those people and they're making money through that. They're growing these businesses. A lot of these, brands started really small and they now have a team or a physical location and they're scalable. So I asked myself, what are these brands doing really, really well? Has anyone heard of To Be Magnetic? That's actually how Lydia and I met each other, the To Be Magnetic community. So To Be Magnetic is a manifestation school of sorts, I guess we can call it that, where they talk about the brain and the neuroscience and materialization of thought. And there's a whole process. They've created a methodology. And this really is a brand that people talk about, right? There's communities based off of this methodology. It's a community that people want to join. There's a huge offer suite at this point, right? There's multiple different workshops. They now have a huge team. So what has this brand done to turn heads? I'll talk about this in all three of these, but what all three of these businesses did really, really freaking well is they created a movement. They created a community that people wanted to be a part of, that they felt welcome in. And I hope that you all feel welcome in the Visibility on Purpose community, because we want this as well. And they created a movement, right? That was bigger than just them. It wasn't just that I'm here doing this, I'm a speaker, and it's all about me. There was a movement through what they were doing, right? So the couples retreats, yes, of course, there is financial benefit to doing that, but there is a reason that we're doing that, right? To reinvigorate relationships, to bring back the importance of healthy communication, connection, building a business with your spouse. This is about creating a movement. And that's what all three of these businesses do really well. Manifestation queens over here. Then we have Bare Performance Nutrition. And Lydia, if she's listening to this, she's going to be like, Bridget doesn't stop talking about this company. Okay. So BPN, see, I'm even calling it that, right? BPN is a supplement brand. That's what it is. That's their actual product. That's what they're selling. What they've done really, really well to make people turn heads is, again, a brand that people talk about and value-aligned action. This is really, really important if you are the founder of a company these days, because now with social media, now with technology, we all have the ability to be the face of the brand, right? You now are able to go on Instagram and see what the founders of companies are eating for breakfast. And there's something important that comes when we are more visible, because more and more people want to invest in companies that are value aligned. So the founder of this company has this great YouTube channel, this great podcast, where he actually is using what he's selling, right? So he is an ultra marathon runner, 100-mile races. He also does a lot of workouts and stuff like that. So he's using what he's selling, right? And this is so, so important, because in a time when there's so many companies out there, more and more people want to invest in a company that is in alignment with their beliefs and the actions are in alignment with their beliefs. Okay. This is also a product-based company, so people are talking about it. They do events. They built this community around the concept, right? So they've created this movement. Again, come back to the movement. So what's the movement that you're creating? If you want to create a brand that turns heads, what is the movement that you're creating? BPN, Bare Performance Nutrition, has this saying, and they say, go one more, right? So it's all about that mentality of pushing yourself beyond your limits. And it could impact them in so many different ways, right? But this is a supplement company. But they're talking about having this motto this movement. And that's what drives the community forward. So how cool. So just think about that. So as you're here, it's like, what are you putting out into the world that drives the community forward, that brings people together? What is the movement that you're creating? And it's not just about you, as the founder. All of these companies have grown in a way that brings people with them. So how are you bringing people with you? Okay, last company here is Nourish Move Love. And go on YouTube if you love like simple, quick, effective workouts that are strength training and weight training, but you don't need to be in a gym for them. Go check out her workouts. So Nourish Move Love, NML, led by Lindsay Baumgren. I interviewed her on my podcast a couple months ago. She has created a 7-figure business, and all she used to do was just make home videos of her working out. But she did something really, really well. She had a great target market focus. And we'll talk about this in just a couple slides. It does matter. Who are you targeting? What do they want? What is the language of those people? What do they desire? What are their wants, needs, interests, problems? So she focuses on making workouts for moms and women. So she has like pregnancy-based workouts, and it was very, very targeted. Now with that, she also created a community. She was like, join the NML community. And I don't even know if she has a physical or a digital community where people are separate, but through her YouTube channel, she created a community right there. So this isn't to say that you need to go outside and create, a Discord channel or a Facebook group unless that suits you. Your, Instagram following could be a community in itself. She's also doing things that are very value aligned. So all of these 3 businesses are just examples of businesses that turn heads, right? And I want you to ask yourself, what are some of those brands that you invest in very regularly, and why do you do that? It's a great question to ask yourself, right? Why are you investing in them? What are they doing really, really well? How are they, getting my money? What are they saying? Why am I doing it? So start to look at your own reasons for spending money and create a movement. So in the chat box, what is this movement that you're creating? For Lydia and I, it's all about amplifying the voices of business owners who are doing good work on the planet. That's quite vague, but that's okay. We're doing that through, PR, media exposure, media training school, also trainings like this. I love talking about sales and doing workshops like this. So what is the movement that you're creating? What are people buying into, right? Because BPN's a supplement company. But I actually first bought into his movement before I ever spent any money with him. So what are people buying into? What are you building that is beyond yourself? And this brings us really to the conversation of what is a brand. And the way that I like to see, brands is that brands create a mental imprint upon the potential consumer or customer. And these are some ones that do like this really, really well. Nike, obviously, right? The logo in your mind. You know what it represents when someone buys, Nike shoes. Patagonia, right? Very outdoorsy, adventurous. They've created that brand, and that's created a mental imprint in our mind. We get it. And then this is just a local one. My friend Jody created Hospitable Hosts, and it is a community of short-term rental experts, of Airbnb hosts from all over the world. And it's created, again, a mental imprint. So what is the mental imprint upon the consumer? This is really what's projected out into the world. So to create a brand that turns heads, it needs to be very, very clear. It needs to be, a clear message of what it is that we're doing. What are the values of the brand? These are some of the things that you can think about. What are the values? What is the message of this company? What are we truly doing? What is the voice? How do we speak to our audience? This is everything that's projected out into the world. Now, is the brand memorable? And this is something we really do in Visibility on Purpose, because brand differentiation, in a time when a lot of people do similar things, there are other companies like Lydia and my company. There are other companies that teach you how to pitch yourself to media without hiring a publicist. That's not really the newest thing. So how do you differentiate yourself? Well, for us, part of it is coming at the angle of, publisher, speaker, and publicist themselves. Another angle for us is that we want to work with business owners who have a spiritual backbone, who are impact driven, who know that they're here to do good work on the planet and willing to make a lot of money for it. So these are some of the things that make the brand memorable. Also, we do events. We want to build this community around this. So what makes your brand memorable? And a great question to ask is, what words would people use to talk about your brand? Right? Like because we're asking ourselves, what is the mental imprint upon people when they engage in our field with this brand? So if your company is, say that you do spiritual coaching, we'll use that as an example. When people enter the field of your business, whether that's physically coming in person, whether that is engaging with you online, whether it's reading an email, what words would they use to speak about your work? Because this is important. If they don't have words for your work, there's something off with the message of what you're doing. And then it's very, very hard to create a brand that turns heads, and it's very hard to create and generate income. So we want people to understand what this entity represents. This needs to be an entity that creates trust, because why are people going to pay us money? And it's beyond just us. It has to be about the consumer and about who we're here to help. So now this is where we get into an important conversation. Many years ago, I did a workshop called Are People Buying What You're Selling? All about generating income. And now this is important because you didn't start a business to tell no one about it. You also didn't start a business to make no money, right? So what drives people to purchase things? Number one, it is important that instead of focus, especially if you have a service-based business, instead of focusing on all the features and the details of like what someone's going to get if they, buy your program or they go to your retreat or how long it is, you've probably heard this. Features and details tell, benefits and results, and stories sell, right? The stories sell because that's what humanizes us. And being human in business these days is a great differentiator, especially when we have like AI technology, ChatGPT, all of those things. So the real thing that we're asking ourselves with these benefits and these results is, why would someone pull out their credit card to, work with us? So they've come into contact with your brand or your business, and they're looking to engage more. Now, why would they want to actually work with you? Why would someone want to pull out their credit card to work with you? And it's not just because your calls for your, workshop are going to be at 2 p.m. on Fridays. That's not why. So how do we know what to sell? And this is really that before step. We have to test, right? A lot of brands or products are going to do market research. My sister-in-law works for a company where she's a food researcher, a food scientist, I should say. So a lot of her job is actually spent managing the testing of these products, right? They don't just go to market. They don't just create a program without knowing that people want this, without knowing that it's good. So don't just create a product or offer a program without testing your market, right? Do the market research, meaning ask the questions. I also helped my dad with another company, and we did a whole survey just through SurveyMonkey, and we wanted to poll high schoolers and college-age kids to see what their financial literacy was, because we wanted to just like get a feel. You can do this on your social channels totally. Maybe you do a beta launch where you change the pricing a little bit, make it a little bit more accessible, or you're asking for something different. Test it. Get case studies, get testimonials, and have conversations with people. If you're not communicating and talking to people, it's really, really hard to know what people want, especially if you haven't tested anything. Okay, so test. Then when we go to actually sell, we need to speak the language of that person. Because it's one thing to create the brand that turns heads, but then what's going to generate the income? You probably already built the trust if you're creating the head-turning brand. What's going to generate the income? You're testing, you're focusing on the story, the results, the outcome, not so much the features and the details. You got to speak their language. So I was on a call with someone yesterday, and we were talking about, her message. And I said, do they understand what you mean by this? She wrote the copy. She's like, no. So although you might understand what you wrote in your latest email or how you talk about your work when you're about to go onto a podcast, does your potential consumer? This is why we do the testing. This is why we do the market research. This is why we gather the testimonials so we can literally use the language and make it easy on ourselves. The most important thing here is to actually listen to what people are telling us. Because if we want people to buy what we're selling, we need to sell something that people want to buy, right? It's a meet in the middle. And this is where it's all about service to the people. It's not really necessarily about just us. Of course, we are the conduit, we are the founder. We have a vested interest in this thing. Maybe it's a personal reason why we started this company. But I do see that a lot of people make the mistake creating something they would want to buy instead of what the actual consumer wants to buy. So what do your people want? What are their wants, needs, desires? What are the challenges that they're dealing with? And then we create a program or the product related to what these people actually want. So in the chat box, what are you selling? Why do people want to, invest in your things? Why do people want to come to a couples retreat? What is going on through their head? Maybe they have children and they just haven't had the time to spend with each other in years. And they're realizing, oh my God, like maybe we haven't been intimate with each other in years. And these are some of the things that could be going through their head. So what is it that you're selling? Test, do your market research, speak the language of the target market of the people that you want to serve, understand wants, needs, and desires, meet them in the middle, and offer something that people want. Quite simple, but I know it's more challenging in practice. So yeah, share some things in the comments. I'd love to hear how this is resonating for you now. How's this resonating for you? And we're doing all of these types of trainings in visibility on purpose, by the way, because one of the most important things, I won't skip ahead. One of the most important things that we do in our actual program to help you get in front of the media and land top tier media without hiring a publicist is that your message needs to be on point. Because if that's really faulty, you're going to spend a lot more time fixing that versus crafting the best pitch to get you in front of the right podcast hosts, the right media channels and publications. That's why we do these things. And obviously, if you're coming into our world, we don't just want you to get media. We also want you to make money because that's pretty cool too. Okay, now I'm going to spend one more moment on this generating income conversation. I have a background in sales. When I got out of college, I worked at a company called Yelp, and I was doing cold calling, phone sales, selling advertising space. I've had a lot of experience with sales. The way I like to look at sales now, and I know a lot of us have relationships with selling. Sales is simple. It's a relationship between what someone wants, needs, desires, and then a company, a product, a person who can solve the problem or has a solution to the want, need, and desire. And again, I want to bring this question back to you. Like, what do you invest in? Think about the things that you buy and invest in. There's a reason that you are pulling out your credit card. There's a reason that you hired the plumber, right? There was a problem. You needed it fixed and you did not have the information. So people typically buy things for a couple of different reasons, to fix a problem, to learn something, to make money or save money, to save time, convenience. So why do you spend money? Why do you hire a mentor? Why do you have a therapist? Why are you spending the money? And why did you choose that person? Because there was something that was articulated with that brand, what that company does, that made you go, oh, wow, they can help me. They can solve that problem for me. They can fix this for me. And, people get really caught up in this online space about pain point marketing. Again, sales is just simple. Person A has a want, need, desire, problem. Person B or brand B has the solution to the want, need, desire, or problem. Now, I, person A, am willing to invest with a certain person B or company B, depending on how well that company articulates that they can help me reach my goal. Doesn't it make sense? Like, it's actually quite simple when we look at it like that. And I gave, my examples here are coffee. That's very, very specific, right? If it's a work day, I want to, go to a coffee shop, or I just need like somewhere quick to go. I'm going to choose based on my needs. I'm going to choose where I go based on my needs, wants, and desires. I hired a therapist because after there was a death and a tragedy in my family, I needed someone to talk to. Again, I had want, need, desire, problem. I hired her specifically because she could also go into the spiritual stuff with me. Why do you hire a certain mentor? Because they help you solve a problem. They help you, they advise you to support you on some of your goals. Maybe one of your goals is to create a digital product and you have no idea how to do that. So you hire the mentor to help you. Maybe you invest in a certain software for a reason. Maybe you hire a healer for a reason. So does everyone understand like this relationship with sales? I think this shift is very, very important. There's a reason that people are buying things or not buying things from you. And if there are some problems in the message and the delivery of that message, then there's probably a reason why people aren't or are buying from you. Okay. Let me know your thoughts on this. Is this landing with you? I'd love to hear. Okay. And last but not least here. You came to this training today. You're a part of this community because you desire a couple things, right? You desire to expand your reach, right? You want to get in front of more people. You want to generate new leads. And I think this is a big thing that comes up with social media is it's not the best cross-promotional strategy unless you are utilizing cross-promotional strategies. AKA you are doing lives on Instagram and you guys are both going onto each other's channels. That would be expanded reach. Or you're getting on interviews on Facebook and you're on their channel, right? Getting in front of other people's audiences. So a lot of you desire to generate new leads, and to do that, you got to get in front of new people. A lot of you also want to get in front of the people who are looking for what it is that you sell. Smart, right? And to do this, we have to create this head-turning brand and we get to make money. So how do we do that? Number one, we have to get in the ring. How do we grow our brand? We get in the ring, we do the things. And the first reminder always here is that don't just be, a dreamer, be a doer as well. This is something that we talk about a lot in Visibility on Purpose because you can have a dream, right? A lot of our students have the dream of being in Mind Body Green or speaking on stages, whether it's TEDx or conferences, totally. But it's one thing to dream, and it's another thing to dream and do. And today is about also you getting in the ring, setting your realistic goals and moving forwards towards those goals. So I always use my philosophy of dream big and then start small. So if you have this big, big dream, what can help you is to work backwards from that dream and set some small micro goals so that you can build up some of that confidence. And confidence is really built through action. There's no magic pill for confidence. The workshop that we have coming up at the end of the month, one of the important reminders is, we're going to do a meditation together at that workshop, but also the reminders that by you moving things forward, by you taking action in the direction of your visibility or some of your quarterly goals, you're going to feel more confident. You're going to feel a lot less confident if you just think about it and don't actually get in the ring and move things forward. So dream, do, and start. Another important thing with brand growth in general is to talk about your brand. Now, these are I kind of have this twice, and that's because it's really important. But, you as a business owner, you have this ability to talk about your brand in a very human way, especially these days. Social media makes it easier to tell stories because you could literally go online and tell a story about your company. Whereas typically like storytelling in business was only on the About Me page of a company. I was actually looking at my dad's website for one of his companies, and like the About Me page is literally just their titles. It's like, Bob does this, like nothing about their journey or their story. And we're really in this cool time where you can start to add more of your humanness into your business because more and more people want to invest with companies that are value driven and are human. Right. So in the day of technology, in the day of Chat GPT, which is lovely, by the way, like there's a lot of very cool features of Chat GPT, but an important thing as a business owner is to be human. And the way that you talk about your business, share your values, tell those types of stories. And then share them. And we always focus specifically in Visibility and Purpose on cross-promotional strategies. That is why we do PR, media features, media exposure, podcasts, speaking as a route to grow your brand. Because instead of you just speaking directly to, your 50 people on Instagram, you're instead going to get in front of and get on a podcast that has 20,000 downloads for each episode. That's 20,000 people that you come into contact with. And podcasts are one of the greatest ways that you can convert, because I'm someone who has invested by listening into podcasts, or by listening to podcasts. I've invested with mentors because you get to know people, because you tell stories and you give value. Like, that's the way to do it. So brand growth, share, cross-promotional strategies, highly recommend it. Highly, highly recommend. And if you are that person who is like, I know that I should be doing, strategies beyond just social media, but I'm not really sure where to start or where to go, or maybe you have that voice inside that goes, yeah, but who would even listen to me if I got on a podcast? If that's the story, come to the workshop at the end of the month on June 27th, because we are going to be talking, we'll be doing a meditation to help you navigate some of those fears that come up with visibility. And one of the ways that we have found that's helpful, and I found this for myself, to navigate the visibility fears of, getting seen more, is to, number one, cultivate confidence by taking action, but also creating a brand identity and a persona. You can call it your alter ego. But that means that when you are on stage or on a podcast or being interviewed or on a live, you put on, this imaginary outfit that helps you step into this version of yourself that can freaking do it. You feel like $1 million. And as someone who has spoken in front of hundreds of people in person, this is important, because there's still parts of, Bridget that are scared to go and talk in front of people. But there's also this, we can call it alter ego, that knows exactly what she's meant to do here on the planet and would not shy away from an opportunity to share a message publicly with people. Right? So if that is something that you're, experiencing, and you're like, who's going to listen to me? What am I even going to say if I am on podcasts or in media? Come to the workshop, June 27th. It's $27, super accessible. Come and join us. Okay, and last but not least here is repeating yourself in business. Now, I was thinking, I don't really watch TV, but commercial ads do not just play once. Like, you're not just seeing that Altivia, that's not even a thing, that Altivia prescription of, do you ever feel down? Well, take Altivia. You're hearing that again and again and again. Like, big companies understand the power of repetition. So if you think that your brand is going to grow by just posting once on Instagram and then just running away, you got to get in the ring. You got to put some time into this, especially if you're in the earlier stages. Repeat yourself. Keep sharing your offers. If you have something that you are currently selling and getting people, you want people to come into your space, keep sharing it. Keep going. Repeat, 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 repeat. And this is the same thing for how we create that mental imprint of our brand. We keep talking about it. This is what all marketing strategies do. If you are paying for an ad, right, say you are going to do like Instagram or Facebook ads, that ad is going to be the same one again and again and again and again, to create this awareness, first of all, that that brand exists. And then maybe the next time you actually click on the ad, because you're like, oh, yeah, what are they saying? And then the time after that, you click on it and you go, oh, I'd actually like to, go to that event that Jim Quick is running in Austin, Texas. So how do we grow our brands? Number one, cross-promotional strategies are the best. Dream and do. Share stories and be human. And repeat yourself again and again and again and again. It can be a beautiful, beautiful thing. Let's see if I have anything else for us today. Okay, here, I want everyone just to leave here today feeling like they have a little bit of a plan for themselves. And if you want to go over your 2023 visibility strategy, I recommend that you go to the video from last week. It was really good for that. But based on today's training, what needs to happen for your brand to become more visible, for you to turn heads, for you to generate the income? Is it that you just need to start, going out there and talking about what you do more? That could be one part. Maybe your message is really unclear. You're like, people have no idea what I do. Maybe you haven't been talking about the things that make you money. Maybe you haven't actually been marketing something. Maybe you've just been thinking that you've been marketing something. So based on today's training, what needs to happen for your brand to get more visible, for you to turn heads, for you to generate income? And I want you to write that in the comments. Make this commitment to yourself that you are going to do this. You showing up in this training today, something in you was like, I want to generate income. I want to create a brand that turns heads. I want to do the damn thing. I want to be more visible. I want to get my brand in front of more people. So make that commitment. Write it in the chat box. That way you can hold yourself accountable, and I can hold you accountable. We can hold you accountable here. What needs to happen for your brand to become more visible, for you to turn heads and generate income? Maybe you want to start, doing the podcast route and media coverage route and speaking route. Maybe that's your next step because you've been on social media for so long and you're like, oh, the algorithm's annoying me and I just want some other strategies, to share my brand. But then you think to yourself, yeah, but who's going to even listen? If that's the case, come to the workshop on June 27th. And my last question for you today is, what advice would you give yourself? What advice would you give yourself? I've given you a lot of information that comes from my mind and my knowledge and my years of being in business. But the greatest advice that we can ever, give is the one for ourselves. So what can you tell yourself here? What advice can you give yourself? Write it in the chat box so I know that you're still here. And Pamela, there will be a replay. Great question. Well, this is the replay, so it'll just be in the group. You're welcome to, watch this again. And Lydia says, BPN, I am interested. Awesome. Awesome. Okay, what advice would you give yourself? What advice would you give yourself? What would you tell yourself? And I have one last thing for you all today. You didn't start a business for no one to know about it. You didn't, maybe even leave your job or shift and alter your course entirely for no one to know about your business, to maybe not make money. You are here doing this work on the planet because you know that there are people out here who need it, right? Are people buying what you're selling? And you also know that you can make money doing this. And when you make money, and you understand that, money is such a beautiful resource to put back into the planet, into our relationships, into our local environment, a lot can happen, a lot can shift. And there is this big shift of wealth happening when more and more people recognize that they can be a little bit more self-sustainable. And they can take this personal responsibility and they can build something for themselves and they can make money for themselves and their family. And maybe they buy more organic food, or they join a co-op, or they start a garden with the money that they're making. There's a lot that we can do here. And that's amazing. Okay, I'm going to try to say it. Oluwasian. I hope I'm saying that right. I'll advise myself to take action and be consistent. Being the most consistent one in the room is one of the greatest pieces of advice. Be the most consistent. Like, I'm a distance runner. You don't want to go out fast unless you've trained fast. Being the most consistent and steady business owner in this room will yield you a lot. It might take time. All these things are long-term strategies. Social media can feel like clicky so fast. But if you are about building a long-term sustainable business, be the most consistent one in the room. Okay. All right, here's this one last time, the Visibility Era Workshop. I'll put the link in let's see if I can find it. I'll put the link in the comments, if I can, in the group. And this is really for the business owner. You have a website, you have a strong social media presence, you have a clear offer suite, you want to expand your audience, you want to generate new leads, you want to get your business in front of new people. You also know you need to spend less time on socials, but you also are like, who's going to listen to me? A lot of fears come up around being visible, around being seen, all of that. What would I even say? Who's going to listen? So in the workshop, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about releasing your visibility fears and cultivating a practice to, generate that confidence within, we'll be doing a meditation led by yours truly. We're also going to be creating a brand persona and identity, and you might call this your alter ego. Like Beyonce has Sasha Fierce as her alter ego. When she stands on stage, you're like, that's Sasha Fierce. Like she has a fierceness to us, and that's, you know, done through what are the values I want to put out when I go out to the world. And that way you can feel like $1 million. And also we're going to, you know, talk about building your visibility era strategy, how you can get more visible. Podcast, maybe that's ads for you, maybe it's media, maybe it's speaking. That's what we're going to do in the visibility era workshop. So grab your spot. We've already sold a number of seats for the workshop at the end of the month. And just thank you so much for being here today. It's been so much fun. I'm very grateful, you know, for all of you. Welcome to the community. If you are new, I'm Bridget Cisco. I'm the co-founder. Lydia is an amazing, amazing human. So say hi to her, wish her happy birthday. It was yesterday. And we'll talk to you all soon. Have an incredible week. See you all at the workshop.